All right, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining me on another Sunday. We're going to start off slightly different this time. I'm going to start trying to start more videos and live streams and stuff with credentials. I've been in the industry, working in the industry for over 15 years. I own a retail store in Edmonds, Washington. We get a lot of people like, where's the store that you have? So we have a retail store in Edmonds, Washington. We have a warehouse that we ship out live plants and other goods from Kentucky. And we've been doing this for a long time. And so that gives a little bit of why would we watch this guy or listen to this guy versus just anybody else, which you totally can. Today we're going to try and talk, or at least we're starting the forum, the conversation with filters. You can see I got a bunch of them up here. I've got a bunch beside me. I've got one in my hand. And again, like, why would we listen to this guy with anything he says? Well, part of it's my job to improve upon products, make money from it, test things. And in general, I have access to like everything laying around. So when I have a question, I can go, let me look at that. Let me test that. Let me do that. And that leads to pretty fast knowledge gain when you have access. So other things I'll point out real quick here. You see the new fish. We've got rosy barbs, longfin rosy barbs. And it used to be, if you go back to last week's live stream, you'd see a lot of hair algae up here. They've eaten it all, and they're still cleaning. Now they're working on the black beard algae that's on my bulbitis. So that's looking better. And I want to show you some camera tricks and stuff, because we see lots of comments and all of that. Like, why would I listen to this guy? His tank looks terrible behind him. It totally does, until you use a different camera. So if I swap to this camera, enhance, you see how it looks completely different. Like, oh, you can see the greens in the plant, wider angle, obviously, and stuff. And this camera is not tuned, and you're actually seeing the back of the cell phone that we're using currently right now to shoot. But not everything as it seems on the internet. So just know that. And so that foggy looking aquarium, yes, there is some debris and some optimizations to be done, but not nearly as like what it would seem right now. So take that with a grain of salt. Let's see here. Anyone have questions yet? Not yet. So we'll wait for them to come in. So first we'll talk about, my favorite one is going to be a sponge filter. That is my favorite. That's why I optimize them, why I make parts for them, why I use them in all of my aquariums. Now, that doesn't mean I would never use another filter. I have an 800-gallon aquarium off camera that has a big canister filter. In fact, I have those as well. Let me show you some of those. And I've got them in all sizes. Like, that one is brand new in the box. And I've got FX6s, FX4s. This happens to be, this is the biggest one Eheim makes. And it's out of the box because I was contemplating setting up a second one yesterday for a CO2 reactor. And then I decided, even at 800 gallons, I don't think you need more than one of these. I have two of these on my 1500 gallon at the store. But this is so big, it holds so much media and, intake sponges and stuff like that you can put on the intake, that I don't think the average human is ever going to need more than one of these, or even one this big. I mean, if you buy, like the one I have on the 800 gallon is filled with bio rings. It's like $200 worth of bio rings. It's expensive. This filter's over $500. And, but I've never, ever had to worry about ammonia or nitrite. I mean, I have live plants and stuff anyway, so that kind of doesn't matter. But the real reason why I run this one over an FX5 or an FX6, which I have for a long time, is there's a big motor that sits up here. And that pump is actually just much stronger because my 800-gallon and my 1500-gallon, they're like 8 feet off the ground. And so they have a lot to pump through. And then especially with what I was doing, which was plumbing in a CO2 reactor, everything you add. So if you're using inline heaters, if you're using like this one that's on the tank right now, there's an inline heater and there's a reactor. And now a CO2 reactor, and there used to be a UV sterilizer. But everything you add, it's more resistance to push the water through. So you want a really strong one, and the FX6 could not handle that 8 feet that I had to go up, plus all of those doodads. So when it comes to hang-on backs, I've got I've used quite a few over the years. I've maintained a long time that Aquaclear, I think, was the winner. And I now have every single size of the new ones as well, and you'll be seeing a video coming out on that. There's kind of a lot of stuff that people are just glossing over, not even noticing in the reviews they're doing and stuff. And so I'm trying to put together a much better, not better, I don't want to put other people down, a much more comprehensive review, hopefully, with a lot of tricks and stuff that I know. So, like, I know this trick that very few people know, and I'm always flabbergasted by it, but all the Aquaclears, like from the 20 to the 70, they all use the same motor, and the new ones do the same thing. And so what that means is going to, some people, this is going to blow your mind and go, oh my gosh, that just helped me so much. You can use different impellers. What does that mean? That means you can take your Aquaclear 50 or your 70, right? And maybe you've got a species and you're trying to breed bettas and they want to make a bubble nest up top, and it's just, oh man, too much flow. Or maybe it's really just being way too much on your floating plants. Well, you can buy an impeller for an Aquaclear 20, drop that bad boy in, it'll slow the flow way down. So you'll still have all the big media, but much slower flow. And so all of them are interchangeable, which means any of your filters you can kind of hot rod. Now, you got to be a little careful. You start going to try to put giant impeller into Aquaclear 20, that thing gets clogged up. You're moving way too much water for the surface area. Disclaimer. But just knowing that little trick is a cool hack in my opinion. Do I still have the giant sponge filter? I do. In fact, it's right over there. I should probably have brought that over for this. That was an error on my part. I've got a sponge filter that's like this big that I brought back on a train and a plane and all of those things from China. And it was, it was quite a spectacle because normal people are like, what is this guy? What is that thing he's got? And it was cumbersome the whole way, and my wife put up with it. So what else we got? Yeah, we got under gravel filter back there. I've done lots of videos, a 10-year career on YouTube. There's stuff all the way from clickbaity canister filters are terrible, and I still think they are terrible in terms for most people, all the way to this filter's the best, and here's how to hot rod them and all of that. And, let's say in the 15 years, all filters still are fine. Like they all work. We're really choosing pizza toppings at this point where it's like, yeah, all pizza's pretty good. Like, but I like this style of sausage a little better than that one, or I like my pepperoni a little more crispy than not. All filters will work. Even the crappiest ones, you can make them work pretty well for you. And then it's a matter of how much money do you want to spend? What's your unique things? Like, for instance, if I needed a CO2 reactor, this sponge filter is not going to cut it. Can't build in, the reactor, for one, that I put in is physically bigger than this thing. It's huge. And so it depends on what you're wanting to do. For me, I lend my aquariums towards simplicity. What is the easiest thing that will not have lots of replaceable parts? I like it to be affordable. I like it to not have a lot of parts that can break. I don't want to have to clean, my wife's hair out of the impeller. I don't want sand getting sucked in there. I don't, all those kind of things. So I lean towards sponge filters with air, and it makes it really easy when the power goes out and all that kind of stuff. Like, it's not a problem. But there are use cases. I've got 2 tanks in here, each using canister filters. I've considered that for this. I've considered the under gravel filter right there is actually considered for this tank, mostly just to show people like, hey, it still works fine and I like them. And there's every type of filter, there will be ways in which it comes out of the package and ways in which you can customize it to what you want it to do. And those are useful. This person's running 2 Aquaclear 70s on separate saltwater tanks. They've been doing great. Yeah, so that's a good point. When it comes to any hang-on back, pretty much any hang-on back, not just Aquaclears, but any hang-on back, you can use them as refugiums, or that's fancy words for growing plants out of them. So like this pothos that I have, you can actually put it in the filter and it will just grow out of it. And you can do that saltwater, freshwater, mangroves, all kinds of stuff. Spider plants, peace lilies. So that's another way in which you would like, oh, that's better than the sponge. So it's like, yep, totally is. But don't forget, there's also downsides when it comes to filters. So the one thing, I actually have 2 filters over there that I'm running so that I can say that, hey, I've been running it this long and here's what I'm noticing. But it's literally so loud, even filled up, compared to the way I run this. I run this room is as quiet or quieter than a library. And so that really stands out. And you're going, but you run sponge filters. Like, yeah, the air pump's quiet, and this tube, half the reason I developed it, really silences the amount of sound. And then the air collar, smaller bubbles make less sound, so finer bubbles. And so that's out of necessity. I film in here all the time. I like quiet spaces anyway, where a hang-on back in here will work really well. Like if I wanted to polish this water up a little bit, just hang it there, turn it on, and run it for a day or two with lots of filter floss. That would do it. Yeah, there's a million ways to use a different style of filter in a different way. And the first and foremost, I will always tell people, use what you've got. And then if you don't have a filter, buy 10,000 of these, because that'll make me a lot of money. But if you have any filter, or you see one in a garage sale, like, use that and then modify it and make it really good, you know? Because at the end of the day, most of what's going on in your aquarium when it comes to like keeping your fish alive is actually happening in the gravel and live plants and things like that, and water changes, where think of filters, they're more like there's a garbage can, right? Any garbage can will, in fact, you don't even have to have a garbage can. You're like, oh, I got a bag. Well, I guess that's a garbage can now. So yeah, but if you guys have specific questions, that's where I can, being that I've done so much of this, like why I preface the video of 15 years being in a retail store, every day you're talking to people about like filtration and their fish and their plants and stuff, and they've always got the next crazy idea. And you go, okay, well, let's do that. And then you'll see a lot of stuff that works, a lot of stuff that doesn't work. Here's a great, okay, I want to teach this because I feel like this is missed 1,000 times over. I'll open up the new one just so you guys can look at it. Maybe there's something new to see for you here. People all the time, we would get this once a week at least at a fish store. They come in and go, hey, my filter is broken, doesn't work. And I go, unlikely. And they go, no, it won't work. And I go, I doubt it. And they go, no, it doesn't. I go, bring it in. And like 48 times out of 60, no, out of 50, I would fix it within like 30 seconds. And they'd be like, how'd you do it? And it'd be something like hair in the impeller, just, stupid stuff like that. But then every once in a while you'd get the person that like, no, I checked that. I took the impeller, I serviced it. Like, really? And they'd be like, yep, motor's burned out. And I'd be like, in my whole career, I think I've only ever seen like 3 burned motors ever. And we're talking like 10,000 filters I've probably had in my hands and sold and done all of that. So the tests that you want to do, I'm taking this apart here. This thing got us last week. It shut the stream down. Careful. Put that over there. Flu will be tripping. There's new parts, by the way. It's kind of a real pain to get this part out without breaking it. Oh, I'm gonna break it. They also, like, half of it, I got too big of hands to really be doing this thing. Well, here, I'll take it out. So, if you ever need to service this, by the way, on the new Fluval or the old Fluval, it's just a twist. Boom, comes out. And there's an O-ring here, by the way. Talked about that servicing and being easy. In a perfect world, you're lubing this O-ring and on your canisters and everything once a year with silicone grease. Just FYI. But the way to test if your motor is broken, all right? And this works for power heads. This works for anything with an impeller. You have it plugged in. So this would, at this point, you would have it plugged in. It's on your tank. Got water in it, whatever. Doesn't matter. It's plugged in. You hold your impeller. and you hold it next to it. If it vibrates in your hand at all, your motor's good. It's the impeller. It's that simple. So basically, this impeller is a magnet, and so is this. And so the way the motor works is between the two magnets, and that's what makes it spin. So, woo! And so if you feel it kind of like, oh, I can feel like a magnet wanting to pull to it a little bit, motor's fine, impeller's bad, and you just buy a new impeller. Now, unfortunately, it's getting harder and harder to find impellers online because everybody buys their filter from Amazon, and then Amazon like never has the impellers and other parts. And a store like us, we would like, yeah, we can carry that, but everyone's buying from Amazon, and then everyone wants a part from us, and so it can be hard to find them. That part sucks. But yeah, so there you go. That will, you can diagnose any power head, any is that the right? Yeah, even like Corellias and stuff. Yeah, any hang on back filter, and at least then you know like, hey, I don't need a whole new filter because an impeller might be like a new impeller for this thing might be $12, $15, $20, or a whole new filter like, oh, it's $60. I got all the parts laid out here still. Waiting for me to make an air-driven hang-on back. Yeah, that's on my, ooh, that'd be fun. I should do that someday list. I just haven't tackled that yet. I'm hoping to tackle it someday. Get these back in there. Another change, by the way, on the new flue ball. You know how all the intake tubes, you would just stack them, and then you'd get plant guts and stuff stuck in this one. You have to take it apart and clean it. Well, now they have extension tubes and intakes. So when you put it together, you don't get that second layer of like, oh, it's jamming up there. That's annoying. So, which I hadn't seen anybody call that out yet, not even flue ball themselves. Which just shows me like, is anyone actually using these things? Has anyone ever used 50 of these at a time and had to clean 50 of them and know how much that sucks? Probably not. And that's another big thing I would say. When I test, a lot of times, like Seachem titles, which everyone's going, that's our favorite, right? We tested 40 of those at a time. And unanimously, employees were like, yeah, I have to go back to Aquaclear or something else. These are not good for what we want to do. Now, again, everything's usable. But if I'm buying brand new, I'm not buying a title. I just can't do it. I've been down that road. Marineland canister, the 220, is getting air in the line somehow. It used to leak, but that stopped. But every 30 minutes or so, bubbles come out of the outflow when I shake it. It's been that way for months. All right, good. We got a filter question here. Two ways in which that's happening. Either A, it's part of your intake. What does that mean? You know, like the piping that's going to go from in your tank, sucking up water, and down to your canister filter. One of those connections can be loose, so check that. Or two, it's going to be those O-rings we just talked about. Over time, they dry out. And so if you don't have silicone grease or they get cracked, they create little fissures that allow the tiniest amount of air in, and usually not water out, because it's sucking in. Like the motors want to suck in, and so that's usually why you're getting air in but not water out. One of those two is almost always the culprit. The other one, the third one, which is much more obvious, and so why it's not that as often, if you have like an air stone or something near the intake and it sucks in a little bit of air every once in a while, that's going to build up and burp. So take a real good look at the piping and just make sure. Some of the ways you can, try to diagnose it is just wipe everything down with a paper towel and, get it as dry as you can. Make sure there's no water coming out, but also look in the line if you have clear tubing to see if you can see any little air going through there. Or what I do is I just make sure I'm tightening up everything, checking all the connections, and I buy some silicone grease and do all the O-rings. And between doing both of those, usually one of the two will have solved the problem. And then I go, well, yeah, I'm not sure which fixed it, but it's fixed now. So that's good. Am I going to start selling on Amazon? Not unless I'm going to go out of business. The fastest way to cripple a business long-term would be selling on Amazon. And there are are definitely business nerds that'll fight me to the death on that. But no, I also don't want to compete against now we have over 170 retail partner stores, which means they're selling our products. So I've made a commitment to them. And so it would be a last ditch dire effort. Corey's living in the gutter and the co-op's going down when we would have to make a deal like that. So we are very far from that, and I do not anticipate that. And a lot of things had to go horribly wrong for that to happen. Some Walmarts in my neighborhood in the clearance section have 10 to 20 gallon hang-on backs. They had like 3 of them for $9.99. I should have bought them. Yeah. I mean, when we break down filters, it's usually some kind of motor mechanism, whether it's an air pump or a physical motor and impeller, something to hold bacteria. So it could be sponge, could be big old canister filter, right? Could be gravel. And as long as you're making water touch the bacteria, you now have a filter. And by definition, like every filter does that. So if it's moving water, then hey, guess what? You can optimize it and you can run a fish tank on it. So, obviously a very tiny filter on a 1,000-gallon aquarium, maybe that's not going to work out so well for you. But anything within close to being in reason. Another thing, 2 20-gallon filters probably handles a 40-gallon tank just fine. Even 2 15-gallon filters. The other secret in the industry, everything is made up when it comes to, I could literally just claim this does a 1,000-gallon tank, or 10, or 1 gallon, or 26, or 45, or 9. There's no standard. So when this thing says, this does a 200-gallon tank, this one does like the 70, they want you to think it does a 75. That's what they want you to think. We pick numbers based on what we think you might do. Like, this is an Aquaclear. I have a 20-gallon tank. I should buy the Aquaclear 20, right? So obviously, it's everyone's job to sell the stuff. But a great example of that as well is a Fluval filter canister. Their gallon per hour rating, they do theirs when it's empty. So if it says 250 gallons per hour, that's with it being empty. Eheim, on the other hand, this bad boy, or any of the filters, they make smaller ones, obviously, theirs are always rated with it full of media. So when it's full of media, everything slows down. So on paper, Fluval will always look better than an Eheim. But when you actually compare apples to apples of them both being full, Eheim usually wins. So Eheim's more expensive as well, so don't be fooled there. But just know. Let's see. I got a message from Dean, and I was reading a thing, and it totally just my brain left my head for a minute. Any plans on making a co-op app? Not unless I stumble into a new best friend that is the world's best app developer, and he'll work for free, or she will work for free. Apps are a pit trap. Where once and I've been down this road. We used to have like a podcasting app. We've had other apps in the past. Once it's out there in the world and random thing pushes an update, your world comes screeching to a halt. Did you know that all iPhone 11 users can't use the app right now? And you're like, oh gosh, we better do something. And then 3 weeks later, like, oh no, all this, Android is coming to a screeching halt. Better do something. Oh no, there's been a rule in this app store change. And so you end up spending all your time working on an app that makes you no money. In theory, would make people's lives better, but you just go out of business trying to keep it afloat. So that's why there's so many ads and apps and usually subscriptions and all of that. Because even after all of that, a lot of times still not even that viable. So I initially messed up building my EasyFlow collar too high, sticking up like the Loch Ness Monster. Yeah. My happy accident, I would say. So I have all of mine set up like this. But the happy accident that I didn't foresee, which I run into happy accidents all the time, is there's X amount of people that will set them up this way. It gives you a different angle. It's kind of awesome. I wish I had thought of that when we were actually like in the design studio with them and go, yeah, let's make it so you can, it technically would be two different angles. Like, that's amazing. But and I see it, it kind of makes my eye twitch every time I see it in someone's aquarium. I'm going, oh, that's not. But it's actually kind of cool because it is longer, and oftentimes you don't need all the height. So it kind of, and you can see how the angle is a little bit, like if you're going to run it under the water, this angle might be better than this angle, which really you want it at the water line with this being a little bit out of water, but yeah, happy accidents. You learn a lot, by the way, when you kind of design stuff. There's people that, I mean, we have videos to put it together and stuff, but there's, air pumps go in water sometimes. You just go, oh yeah, okay, I gotta future proof that somehow. Let's see here. I'm wondering about a good quality, large capacity diaphragm pump. Don't quite need a linear one. So I'll preface this by saying I would never buy a large diaphragm pump. They're just way too loud and they get hot and they're not energy efficient. But you've asked me for that. And so another person, best diaphragm air pump for 20 tanks. I would tell you the same thing. Probably an Alita pump. Pick, choose your poison, but Alita, Alita. And the rebuild kits on them that you have to do every 2-ish years, $75. You're going, oh, hey, ow, ouch. Where the linear air piston pump, yes, you buy once, cry once, $250. Oof. And then it runs for the next 50 years, maintenance free. Not maintenance free, but like you don't have to, every 2 years, you're not putting $75 into it with diaphragm kits. And it runs, like there's literally one, I don't know, 12 feet from me right now, and you guys can never hear it because it's, and the difference is the diaphragm pumps, big pieces of rubber that basically compress, it's kind of a billion times a second or whatever, and that's what makes air. Where the linear air piston pump is a piston, like in a car, and so if this is, the piston is going up and down, and the tolerances are crazy tight, they're made in Japan, and they run, for the amount of air they make, incredibly more quiet and less energy. So I totally hear you, because 15 years ago when I was building my first fish room, literally every dollar counted. Notebook paper, how much is a sponge filter? Can I buy them used? How much is the airline? Can I this and that? And it came to, and I bought Alita air pumps. I bought these things. And what I found over time, what you don't realize yet, is you're going, yeah, but I'm going to save over $100 if I go with this one. You save it that day, but you're going to pay more when it's adding more heat. Like, oh, and it's louder. And now you're trying to I got to quiet this thing down. And you have to, we watch this happen to a lot of people. You need to buy the repair kit like today. If you're going to buy that pump, buy the repair kit today, because if it burns out in 12 months, 14 months, 16 months, you can't wait the 2 weeks it's going to take to come in. Oh, they're sold out at the vendor you originally bought it from, whatever that scenario is going to be. So you get most of the way there without getting all the benefits. Also, you're going to use more electricity to do it as well. So over time, if you look at it on like a 5-year plane, the linear air piston pump wins every time. If you look at it on a 1-month plane, all these lesser air pumps win. So I would highly advise you, if you can make the extra money mowing lawns, not eating out, something, I would buy a linear air piston pump. Even if you don't buy it from us, it is a superior product in every way, in my opinion, and that is the way I would go. That being said, there could be pumps that have entered the market real recently that I haven't tested out, and maybe it's a diamond in the rough, but honestly, as a guy that's put his hands on a crazy amount of air pumps, that doesn't happen. And if it did, usually people hit us up about it, and we would be investigating it already. So that's, and by the way, like our little air pumps, they're diaphragm pumps also. So just know that I've got a lot of experience with the diaphragm pumps. In the small capacity, like 1, 2-ish tanks, They're not crazy loud. They're not crazy expensive. It makes some sense. But when you get to that, hey, I need to run 20 tanks, your options are giant diaphragm, blower, which is ear piercing and terrible, or linear air piston pump. And linear air piston pump is the winner every time. I have a diaphragm pump from Gemco, and it's super quiet. I don't believe it. Give me a part number. I don't believe it. I'm going there right now. I've been buying from Gemco for the last 15 years before I could source my own. And I've tried a lot of their stuff. And I'm just saying, like, I don't believe it because that's so rare. We also have there's a lot of what's considered quiet. I run into it all the time where people are like, yeah, see how quiet it is? And I'm like, that is a freight train. You can't film in here. Like, because I go to people's stores. Like, is it one of the Dolphin lines? That's mostly what they're carrying because they've got the blowers, they've got the Dolphin line, which I've tested. And Dolphins are rebranded Elitas, by the way. And they've got... The only one that I haven't seen is this open motor linear piston design that's not meant for outdoor use. Those are new. I haven't seen those. But all the other ones I have tested. So I would be surprised to be like, yours is silent? At what point does it make sense to get a linear air piston pump versus another bladder pump? Minimum number of lines or tanks? I think that's hard because everyone's got a different budget where you set up one tank, you buy one air pump. That's affordable. When I think maybe when you start, at the time you start thinking about like, how am I going to put all these tanks on racks? If you're thinking that way, go linear air piston pump. The other thing that, because I went from normal pumps to like bigger diaphragm pumps like this. There was a craze for a while where you bought the 4 outlet air pumps from Petco. You could split them off a few ways, and that was kind of crazy, but they burned out like in 7 or 8 months. So that sucked. I've been through it all, and if I could look back and, I would have saved a lot of money had I found a way to pony up for the linear air piston pump. Now, part of it was I just didn't know that they were just the best, because you'd be like, okay, blowers are a thing. Okay, linear air piston pump. You probably don't even know about it at the time. And you're just looking at, most people when they're shopping, they just go, how many liters does it put out? And they don't know that a linear air piston pump at 40 liters is the same as like a diaphragm pump, except the diaphragm pump took more energy and was wicked loud to do it. And so they're going, yeah, I saved $80. Why wouldn't I? And they don't realize that, like, well, yeah, you got to buy the rebuild kits. And then there's also what I hate is Elita air pumps. Half the time, sellers will sell them as a linear air piston pump, and they are not a linear air piston pump. They are a diaphragm pump, but they, some sellers are shady. So, let's see here. My pump basically vibrates the entire table. Good point. Get yourself dampening blocks. I have some underneath my canisters and stuff, and then the 800 gallon. You can buy them on like Amazon, and they're made to like put under like washing machines and dryers, and there's different densities and stuff like that. But if you can isolate it, the easiest way is like, I'm not gonna be able to show it on screen, but even like a mouse pad. That will dampen a lot of the vibration. And a lot of air pump sound is vibration transfer, not the actual thing itself. It sometimes is some of that too, but yeah. Let's see here. Most of the horror stories you hear are due to not practicing proper maintenance. Yeah, well, whether it's a filter or an air pump, kind of doesn't matter. We are hobbyists. This is not like a professional thing for most of us. And so we go, yeah, I'll fix it when it breaks. Or, it's been working for the last 2.5 years. Why would it break tomorrow, right? We're not thinking about it. We're thinking about the latest fish illness or the latest fish you want to buy or the aquarium club coming up or the tank you're setting up, whatever it is. And from a professional standpoint, running stores and things where it is a 911 scenario when your air pumps go out. And I have backup air pumps. Even when we didn't sell linear air piston pumps, I had backups in my store because I've watched other stores and myself have run into problems before where like something goes wrong and you need an air pump. And like, don't get me wrong, I love Gemco. I used to buy from all the time. Like their air pump, they sell it just like we do, right? They're $240. We're $250. What you don't know is you literally can't place an order online. You got to call that guy, and they ship much slower than us. And then you have to pay the shipping, which is like $25 to $30. So we're actually cheaper and faster. But when you're like, if your fish room doesn't have air, you're literally calling up fish. Like, you got a backup? Who's got a backup? I really am in a pinch right now. And so that's for a long time. When I'd buy stores were going out of business, I'd be like, okay, that blower, if I had to, we'll keep it around. And eventually we just sold them off to other aquarists and things. But with the linear air piston pump, it is, I still recommend having a backup, even though I've never needed one. Because if you need one, you can't be like, oops, everything's gone, right? You can't afford that. So, but yes, most people are hobbyists, and they've got lives, they've got families, they've got jobs, they've got all these things going on, and the maintenance slips our minds. It's not seasonal enough where you might be like, I need to sharpen the lawnmower blades, I need to change the oil on the lawnmower. Like that, you can go, oh yeah, each season I do that. This is 24/7, 365. So you just, oh yeah, I guess that's what I don't like about cancer filters. Like, I guess it has been 9 months since I did that. I swear it was like 2 months ago. What's the name of the filter you run the 800 gallon? Building a similar size and baffled at the people running 10FX6s on tanks like that. This is the, I believe they call it, I've got the box over there, but it's the Eheim 1500 XL. They're usually between $500 and $600, but it's got the 1262 Eheim pump on it, which is very energy efficient and has much better head height. So for big aquariums like that, just does better. Robert says, we discovered a design flaw in our Fluval 407 yesterday. The side clips don't close it tight enough. You have to really push down to make sure it's sealed. Sometimes that's true. Like, it's got definitely a seating to it. And then if the O-ring is not quite seated right, that can kind of get mangled a little bit. But yes, you can also break those. Like the Aquatop that used to be real popular with the UV sterilizer in it, used to sell them. Those handles were breaking off all the time. Those were not built with the right plastic and the right force and that kind of stuff. But yeah, it works in a pinch, and it had a built-in UV, which was pretty sweet. But its design flaw was the UV sterilizer was in the head of the unit, and so you'd pop the top, you'd take it off, and now you've got the sink sticking out. You'd set it down, and the amount of like kids and dogs and people that kicked or stepped on it on accident was very high. And that's also why I don't like the Waze filters that have the built-in heaters, because they're set up, and I'm like, I've been down this road, like 15% of people are going to break that. That's what's going to happen. It doesn't lend itself well to consumers. It just doesn't. So I don't like that. I'm looking for an air pump for my fish room, 6 tanks with a battery backup. You got a couple options. You could either go our Aquariumcoop battery backups, which I have got down there, or you can get a bigger battery backup, which I have for my big linear air piston pump, which they run $1,200 to $1,500. You can find something like a smaller Jackery or something, maybe it's $200, and that'll, like mine, I bought one that'll run my air pump for this fish room for 5 days. Because typically when when power goes out here, could be happening at the store also, and when the warehouse was here also, I had 3 buildings that I had to take care of. I could just go, hey, air's okay, moving on to the next building. So that was important to me and worth the money and the investment. So you got two ways: buy our air pumps with battery backup built in, or buy interruptible power source or just a battery bank. Everyone always in the comments always geek out like, bro, you can get marine batteries and do all this crazy stuff that normal people don't do and save yourself money. Like, yep, you totally could, except that's not the average public. Like, if you have specialty in that, you're not asking that question. And the people that do ask that question probably don't want to be like, well, yeah, I could use old car batteries and this and run an inverter and do that, and then I'll hook it up to the solar, like I'll be good. Different people. Let's see here. How do I clean 6-foot hose on a canister filter? For the most part, I would just say don't. But if you really needed to, you can buy pipe brushes that are like 3 feet long, get into it from one end, get into it from the other end. If you were crazy anal about it, buy a second set of hoses, swap them, then take that set of hoses that's dirty, soak it in a tub with like bleach. That'll really clean it out. Take it to a sink, run a little bit of water through it, let it dry, do that swap again in a year, whatever you're going to do. But then you'll get fittings that start drying out. For the most part, I would say just don't worry about cleaning the tubes. Like, it's like, oh, but it spits junk in my tank. Like, yeah, it'll clean it back up. And even when you go and you clean it really well, you're going to clean it, you're going to spend 2 hours, and then you're going to turn it back on. You're like, oh, it spit junk again still. That's dumb. Let's see here. Yes, we do have new coins, and I did see that Candy donated 5 subs, and I'm pretty sure I missed another message, so I'm going to see if I can track that down here. Nope, because I'm bad. I didn't. Oh, wait, maybe I can. Hold on. Wait. Maybe I did miss a message. Maybe I'm on top of it for the member messages. Okay. But yes, there are the new coins. So the coins coincide with years, right? So if you see a 3, that's 3 years. If you see a 5, that's 5 years. If you see a 2, it's 2. And then there's the little green ones, which are 6 months, 3 months, 2 months. And then you've got the Murphy with the new, and that is you're new within 1 month. And if you don't know, one of the benefits, you get coins. If you're in the United States, you can get a coin for each year. If you're ordering from us, that's a thing. You get the Yeti, which that's at the 5 year, and you get a coin, that thing right there. And other perks like 5% off the website, exclusive videos from professionals we hire to give a talk, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, become a member if you're thinking about it. Hate to say this, but I just that. Let's see. Hate to say this, but I just that bigger battery backup built in was $70 and runs 7 tanks, not even all the way. I'm trying to decipher. Are you trying to say that like you like the Higer because it's bigger and it runs 7 tanks, not even all the way? Or are you saying like don't buy that Higer one because it was $70 and it's not doing what you needed to do? Maybe? I don't know. Sentence a little weird there. You can clarify for the masses. Let's see here. Do I recommend our air pump outdoor setup with a small pond? No. And yes. So it's way easier for me to say, yeah, don't do that. Because then I don't have to worry about it. The reality is, would I run my air pump out there? Yeah, I totally would. I would try to prevent it from sitting directly in the sun and getting wet. Like, you know, I can tuck it under the eave of the house behind the pond, or, oh, I can, you know, I would do something so it's not just taking a sun beating and then, you know, getting rained on for 5 months and then getting snowed on. Like, but I am also a consumer that when I put something through that beating and it quits on month 11, I'm like, yeah, that's what I get. I pretty much beat that thing to death. Where there are some people that will buy it and be like, well, I was using it as a boat anchor and it's not working anymore. And you're like, yeah, well, it's kind of not designed to be put through that. But I understand that's why you're asking as well. So I would say there's a medium to it. Don't let it just sit there and bake, or don't let it be just sitting in the elements, you know. The advanced publishing of the members video is killing me. I can't wait for the cichlid talk. Yep. We're not even make it worse. Technically, every video we release, we can release a day early for the members, and we're not even doing that. Good, but Yeah, we schedule out. So if you want to become a member and you want to see, if you go to our like live tab, you can see all the streams that are scheduled out. Not only for just mine, but also in general of talks to come. And so I know that we have. Let's look here. We've got Benete on Cardinal Crystal Shrimp or Cardinia Crystal Shrimp. That's happening February 15th, 2025. We've got Christine Keys on how to build a fish room, and that's in December. We've got Chuck Rambo on the history of cichlids. I've seen that talk. It's good. On November 16th. We've got Joe Cutler exploring Africa's rivers and fish. He gave a talk a couple years ago for this on the electrical fishes, which is pretty interesting. We've got Eric Thomas coming back. He's a real smart dude. He might even have his PhD, and he studies Corridoras. This time he's going to be talking about catfish in general, but last time was about all the Corridora toxins and all that kind of stuff. Super nerdy. And yeah, so there's at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more booked out. And I want to say I counted the other month, and there was like 37 of them already there. So these are 37 talks that you essentially could pay $5 for 1 month. You could watch them all. We paid each person $500, bought them a webcam and a headset, and did our best. So that's pretty nice. So it's like visiting. If you've never been to a club, it would be like seeing them, but from the comfort of your own home. You can hit pause, you can eat snacks, you can fact check them, you can watch it more than once. All of those things. Are crinums not on the website anymore? Are they seasonal? They're not seasonal. They just aren't up to our standards. What happens is we start selling a lot of them, and then quality goes down, and then they don't look so good, and then we get complaints, and then we stop selling them. So we've been doing that cycle for like 5 years. We're just not going to sell them anymore. Great plant. You can buy them lots of places. Just know that if we sell tons of them, then it's a slow plant to make. So the farms really fall behind, and yeah, so that's why we don't sell it anymore. I think we still have a few. I still have a few in the store. That doesn't mean it couldn't change tomorrow, but that's why it's on the website now. Is basically the reasoning there. I kept a co-op air pump outside this summer for my summer tanks. Kept it in a waterproof box from Amazon. I did not see any issues with performance. All right, there you go. Yeah, if you do some kind of proofing of like, hey, you bought a waterproof box, it's probably going to do okay, but if you just let it dangle and a raccoon hits it in or something, like, well, it's not going to fare so well. Moisture, all the dew every morning, I could see it being like, oh, it crapped out early just because of something like that. What were the fish that you had back there that were eating blackbeard algae? Oh, those guys? Rosy barbs, longfin. These happen to be, normal ones do it too, but these are longfin rosy barbs. Those little red guys there, and you can see they basically just snack on all the algae, and they're one of my absolute favorites. So I like to include them in the display tanks because they just look amazing. And then when you find out, like, wait, these are kind of eating all the hair algae too, like, most algae eaters don't look visually appealing. So that's a win-win. My partner is allergic to erythromycin. Do you have an alternative recommendation? You could try. I don't have as much experience, but you could try Kenaplex. You could look into Bifurin. Bifurin, it works, but it's both gram negative and gram positive. And I'm not a chemist, so someone could tell me like, oh, you didn't know that nitrofurazone, which is the active ingredient in Bifurin, has the same properties and allergic reaction as erythromycin? And I'd be like, no, I don't know that. So, but yeah, then there's amoxicillin as well, but that kind of real broad spectrum and can hurt beneficial bacteria also, but would do the same job in terms of treating fish. A little off topic, why do you guys stop selling Apontigitans? Do you guys plan to get them back in the future? We basically stopped selling them ever since the typhoon hit where they came from and where they were being farmed. They've never really recovered production levels well, and other sources and everything that the farms are sourcing from are just not good enough. And so what makes this weird is you're like, but I can go buy one in my store. What are you talking about, Corey? And I get it. The difference is I'd like to purchase 500 of them every week till the end of time. And week 1 is fine. Week 2 is fine. Week 3 is like, ooh. Week 4 is like, oh gosh. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, terrible. And so when, like, my retail store, we might only sell 12 of those a week. And the farms can keep up with that forever, pretty much. But when we are dropping orders of 500 of them on, I'm just going, ooh, the production can't handle this, and the quality they keep getting smaller, and then they're like, well, we want to fill the order. Like, no one wants to not make money. So like, well, they're a little iffy. Let's go ahead and send them, and yeah. So that's why we're not, even though, like, don't get me wrong, I love Madagascar lace. I love all of Pontigitans. Like, a lot of my submissions for my master aquatic horticulturist were with Pontigitans, and I've flowered them, and I've cross-pollinated, I've turned them back to seed. Like, I've done all of it. Super interesting and cool, and I love the fact that they're seasonal, and they die back, and they come back, and they've got all these cool properties. But at scale, it is a recipe for us to disappoint you. So that could be one where a different vendor would do better because they may be selling less, and they carry less, and you might get a better result. Assuming they have good practices during heat and they've, like, that's the problem I find, is that we test our competitors and stuff, and they'll have something, but the quality is like, what arrived here would never pass our quality standards. So yeah, it's rare when I can go, actually, they're doing a great job. I actually think yeah. So that's my, that's my take on it. I also don't think people should ever have to pay for heat packs or cooling packs or insulation or any of that kind of stuff. Like, to me, that's like, oh, you'd like to buy a cheeseburger? Like, oh, well, it's $1 to rent the plate, and then we'll put the cheeseburger on it. Like, you didn't pay $1 for the plate, so they just hand it to you open-handed. Like, here you go. Like, okay. What's the picture behind me? Oh, like this one? That is from an artist that we bought it from in Peru. And okay, let me explain what it is. That's what Peru looks like when you're on the river, like these floating houses. So if you don't know, the houses are literally built to float. When the river's really low, they literally just land, and you can walk into a house. It's like, imagine if your house was just like this. Like, it's not quite that bad, but it's pretty bad. And you have to walk a plank system to get into it. Plank actually broke, and we almost got hurt. But there are these old crazy planks to get in, and the power wires are just like hanging there. It's crazy. And then everything's real loose and everything, because when the water comes back, they float. And so you get a lot of this little, like, stick built. The water would come up like to there. And that's why they have all these weird ladders and that kind of stuff. And yeah, and the trees are like that too. And so to me, I was like, wow, it's kind of cool. Like, someone basically has painted where we've been, and I can buy that. And I think I had to pay, I honestly can't remember 100%. So, but I think it was like, I think we paid like $600 for it. And I had seen this painting like 2 or 3 times. And the person that was doing the paintings, they did some of like Dean and Randy's like discus and apistos and that kind of stuff. And he would always, we'd visit him, and he was always thankful and everything, because that amount of money like really helped his family and way of living and everything. And so after a few times, and I never bought it, because the thing was, it was Dean or Randy or whoever would go there and be like, okay, we'll be back in like a week. We're going to go out on the river. And then it's like, well, how much could he get done in that week? And so it was like, oh, I can make 2 or 3 or whatever. And it was always them. And I kept falling in love with that one. It was kind of big and up there. And I just always assumed it was like some absurd amount of money. I don't know why. And mostly I was like, how do I get it back? And so we ended up buying it, rolling it up, got it back. And then Dean, because Dean is crafty AF, knew exactly where to take it, get it stretched, and do all that. Now it lives on my wall, and I love it. To me, I always just remember, like, yeah, that was done in 2016, yeah. I just remember that that's that's Peru where I was, like that's on the Amazon River and life is much different there. So that's what that picture is, if that's what you're talking about. Yes, today is the best day to place your orders. Sunday means all your stuff leaves Monday morning. Well, it doesn't leave. Like on Monday, it all gets packed and shipped and all that. And it will be the least amount of days to get to you. If you live real close, that could be overnight. If you live real far away, that could be 5 days. If you're ordering plants, well, then it's 3 day select if you live far away, so it's faster. But yeah, it's been working out pretty well. We've been staffing a lot of people on Mondays and hired a couple people actually to help with that because we're coming into the busier season. And I've been very, very thankful you guys have been supporting us. It was kind of a rough summer. We've been investing in lots of stuff for the warehouse and the store expansion and all that. So every order, like you probably would think I'm just making this up, but literally, if you place a $20 order, that literally helps us. Like because there's so many of you, that's the difference between doing what we do and what we don't do. So even a small order helps a ton at aggregate. So do the other co-op plants grow? Wait, do other plants the co-op sells just grow faster, or are there less demand? Some of both, but for the most part, what we sell lots of, and stem plants super quick because they're growing out of water, right? Like if you ever, I've got old pictures on my Facebook, so if you go to like Corey McElroy, the Facebook, and you dig back to like 2011, 2012, I'm at Florida Aquatic Nursery, and you can see like pennywort. Pennywort, the way they grow it, it's a giant bush that's 20 feet tall, and they just walk up, grab some, snip it, throw it in a pot, and ship it. Grows real fast. And then there's things that don't, like crinums, like, nope, got to be grown underwater. That ain't how that works. And banana plants have to be collected from waterways in America. Same with vallisnerias for the most part. You can grow them, but not nearly in the quantity they sell. And so, yeah, there's pieces to it, like what do we keep well, what will ship well, what is appropriate pricing, what is appropriate, like all those things to make it so that it makes sense for you guys too. Because maybe we can get great crinums, but they're already expensive. Like, oh, now they're $30, $40. Like, yeah, I can get you a good crinum all day long at $40. Meanwhile, you're going, yeah, but your competitor sells them for $13. Like, yeah, well, McDonald's makes a cheeseburger and your favorite place makes a cheeseburger. They ain't the same. Well, for some of you, they may be the same, but I placed my order last night. That's right. You can place them Saturday afternoons as well. We'll ship out. Like if it's dry goods, we'll pack them Sunday, but they won't actually make the semi truck until Monday, just because UPS doesn't pick up on Sunday. Yeah. Do I have any experience with swamp eels? I got one in the shop and I'm in love with it, but I can't find anything on Google. I don't believe so. I'm going to look up the scientific name just to make sure I don't know it under another name. Because sometimes they call like an abba knife a swamp eel. Those things look dope, but nope. I don't have a lot of experience with that. For the most part, though, I was talking about this with another person. I'm convinced a lot of these fish have very weird habitats, brackish type stuff going on, and they're very hard to keep in true fresh water, but I don't know this fish, so it could be like, yeah, it only comes from this one lake, but okay, Wikipedia, I clicked on it. Swamp eels found in fresh and brackish waters in South and Southeast Asia, New Guinea, Australia, Middle America, and West Africa. 2 species are blind cave dwellers. In my experience with all of this stuff, and I've watched wholesalers and all this, they get batches where like that went well in fresh water, and then they get another batch that doesn't. And so it's like one out of 5 might be like, oh, these ones were actually collected in fresh water, where the reality is whoever's collecting them, like, they don't care. They're like, I get paid whether this thing came from salt, fresh, or brackish, doesn't matter. If it's alive, I get paid. And so that I find that they don't do well long term in home aquaria. So, Mike McElroy. Hi, Corey. I'm a McElroy too. Your facial features resemble my dad. Setting up 2 tanks in my house, and we'll be placing an order soon. Well, all right. You got the McElroy guarantee then. You order it, I will ship. Well, I won't ship it, but my employees will ship it, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. What's my opinion on the Australian lungfish? Super interesting fish that no one needs to own. They're also incredibly strong. If you ever had to handle one, they're all muscle. It's crazy. But for me, I've had them in like we had a 32-inch one at the store I worked at before I opened my own. It's a log of a fish. They poop as big as my chihuahuas, and everybody's like, "Whoa, that thing is crazy! Make it do something." Like, no, it's doing the thing. It just looks crazy. That's what it does. And so we sold that thing probably 10 times over my 5 years of working there. And people be like, "No, it's going to be awesome. That's what I want." And I'm like, "No, you don't." "Oh, I do. It's going to be great. I got a giant tank." And they'd buy it. And then like 5 months later, they'd be like, "This thing doesn't do anything. It eats and poops." And it's like, "Yeah, I told you that. Like, that's all it does. And it'll eat anything I put in there with it." Like, yeah, that's what it does. And so I keep coming back. They're like, "I don't want any money back. I just want to give it to you. Find it a new home." And so while interesting and look cool, they are in the same, and people, this is what's going to raise people's eyebrows. They're in the same category for me as stingrays. Because some people think stingrays are super cool. If you've owned stingrays, you're like, "Yeah, what do they do?" They eat, and other people go, "Oh my gosh, you got stingrays?" And they look cool. Now, to be fair, you could say that about any fish. But other fish, like, "Hey, those ones are eating algae for me." Oh, and I love how clown loaches pick up rocks and run around like dogs, and they make clicking sounds. So other fish, for me, usually have more than just looks cool. Other people think it is cool, and that kind of stuff going for them. So I try to mix multiple of those things for me in what I like to keep. What's the most exciting thing to me in the aquarium industry right now? I think the most interesting thing to me right now is that social media for this industry is just crashing. Everywhere you look, everyone that was huge and getting tons of views on YouTube or any platform, significantly down, like a ton. And so what I think is interesting or exciting is that some people are going to have to reinvent themselves. Being that you can't make as much money from what we used to do, hopefully it's going to be more people that find other income sources. So maybe they develop their own products. That'll be exciting and interesting. Or maybe some people leave it that, like, as I call them, the Florida boys. We're like, "Oh, let's torture animals for views and make money." So it won't be as lucrative, so we'll have a little bit less of that. That sounds pretty good. But I find it fascinating that for like 10 years, everyone's been building these, I'm going to call them careers or whatever, off of this. And then now it's just, since shorts came out, it's just rapid decline. The content's still there. Like, every creator's still making it. It's just not being prioritized in the feeds. And so now, as a hobbyist, you have to go out of your way to find the stuff, which is fine. That's how YouTube used to be way back in the day. Like, I'm still an old school guy that I only look at what's in my subscription feed, not the homepage. I don't care about the homepage. I find the creators I want to follow. I follow them. I want to see what they're doing. I want to see what they do long term. And I don't watch a lot of YouTube because I don't enjoy the, I'm making this for views. It's super infectious. And I know it from my viewers, and I know it from what I'm watching. When you can tell the thing on camera, someone's super passionate about it. Doesn't even really matter what it is. When you see that, you know it, and you want to be a part of it. And so I think more of that will happen instead of this is what's working. And, we just don't need more snakes on a plane or whatever. Like, whatever the craziest thing is going to be, like, "Oh, it's a goldfish roller coaster. Oh, it's a whatever." Like, show me how you like, I don't know, you fell in love with swordtails. I'm likely to nerd out on that. Like, whoa, okay, yeah, that's pretty sweet, actually. Oh, that's interesting. Um, yeah. Eric Peterson says my Alita AL60 is more quiet than a single Whisper 100. I don't know about that. Like, this is one of those things where I'm like, do I buy one to prove this wrong or prove myself wrong? Because a single Whisper 100 runs at about 42 dB. I know this because I have a dB meter and I have a Whisper 100 and I've tested it. Whereas like the Alita AL60 dB rating, let's see if anybody says how loud. Okay. Aquarium Specialty says it runs at 38 dB. I literally have owned this pump though, and it was not that quiet for me. It was the first air pump I ever bought. Mine was didn't have the white color. It had the tannish. Yeah. So unless they've actually changed the design, which I don't think, but that's impressive if it is 38. I'll give you that. I won't fight you on that. But I will point out that it's $200 and I would just spend $50 more and buy a linear air piston pump. That's all I'm saying. But if you could buy a used one for $50 off of someone else's fish room, that's still probably a good buy for a while. I'm sure, man, I don't want to waste $200 because I don't need one. But now I'm real curious of like, as I keep amassing more tools, I keep going like, are you a Fluval that's rating this empty, or are you an Eheim that's rating this while under use? So I'd be interested to see, what that air pump actually is. 38's impressive. 38 is basically silent. So I will give that. Yeah. 38 dB measured at what distance? That's a very good point, Christopher. Like, I try to show the distance when I'm doing the measurements because, yes, if I measure my linear air piston pump from across the room, it'd be like, oh, it's literally 30. And then at 10 feet, though, you might be like, oh, it's 40 or 42 or 45. So I bet I know Corey's next purchase. I did buy more gadgetry to do some serious air pump testing, but that one's just it's not really on my radar. So I'll say, I can tell you a funny story. This will go back to the roots of Corey's first aquariums. So I had my fish room going, and I was using individual air pumps, and I don't know how many aquariums I exactly had. I'm going to say over 10 at least, right? Maybe 20. And I was new to the hobby, which also meant I'd only been dating my current wife for, I don't know, maybe a couple years, maybe. And her mom had asked what I wanted for Christmas. And I didn't need anything because all I wanted was fish, pretty much. Like, that's all I've been doing and playing video games. And so I was like, well, I mean, the only thing I need is like this air pump, but it was like $180 at the time, or $175. And it's like, that didn't make sense, like that'd be a very expensive gift for your daughter's boyfriend, right? But anyway, I say, yeah, I mean, that's like the only thing I can think of that I want. And so it turns out she's going to buy it for me. And to make it easy, we just put it on my wife's credit card. And because like my wife at the time, I think it was like co-paid or whatever with her mom. Anyway, doesn't matter. But I remember, so I ordered it. And then like a month or two later, they were like, what's this charge from Angels Plus? They thought it was like a porn website. And it just so happens, like, if you've been around a long time, Angels Plus is just an angelfish breeder that was like Gemco and that kind of stuff. And the internet was a lot younger then, right? And so Angels Plus just like, yeah, it's Angels plus other stuff like medicated flake and Alita air pumps and that kind of stuff. And yeah, so everybody's geeking out on my current wife. Well, yes, because you're trying to explain a timeline, right? Currently, she is my wife. At the other time, she was my girlfriend. And in a time in between that, she was my fiance. So currently, she is my wife, but in the story, she was not my wife at the time. So, timeline's crazy. And internet doing internet things. Let's see here. I do get invited to a lot of weddings. That's right. Let's see. Where am I at? I've made an air pump that has 0 dB reading before you plug it in. There you go. I can tell you some preliminary results, by the way. I'm going to make a video because it'll reach way more than who's watching right now, which, by the way, hit that like button right now. And then also subscribe. Did it actually do the thing? When I'm live, does it do the thing where when I say like, it'll do a little thing around the like thing, and if I say subscribe, it does the thing around that? Anyway. Some TLDR brief testing. Length of tubing with my $250 gadget actually matters. So the longer your tubing goes, and so I want to set up the experiment of like, I want to try to identify per foot of tubing is X amount of loss in air pressure, right? And then a check valve in very rough numbers seem, and I'm buying a lot of check valves to test different ones, including my own. And then I want to make the check valve that has the least amount of back pressure while still not flooding you. Anyway, on the ones I've been testing so far, it's about a 20% penalty. So if you use like 25 feet of line plus a check valve, you'd be losing over 50% of your air capacity. And I even confirmed that with a linear air piston pump. So not only just our pumps, but like Gigantotron pump from the wall is like, oh yeah, it's 11 liters per minute. And then you put 25 feet of tubing and a check valve on it, and it's like, oh God, it's struggling to hit 6. So yeah, I want to be able to just kind of do some stuff where everyone can relate, link to a video where the nerd actually did the stuff and the proof is there of like, hey, shorten up that tubing, check valve will do this for you, and min-max your airline, because as a company, it made sense as a business expense to spend $250 on that meter that's usually only used for crazy like manufacturing equipment and stuff. So it actually took me years to find. I kept going, well, the problem is air pumps need to go down to like all the way down to less than 1 liter, where so many other things don't. And so this gadget, I had to buy the special one that went down that far, because so many of them were like, oh yeah, we do 50 liters to like 500 liters, and this is 1,000 liters. No, this one goes down. Why would airline need to be that long? Well, it doesn't need to be that long, but if you're like me, rewind 15 years, my thought process was, if I plug in this 25-foot tubing, because we sell that length, if I plug this in, and I plug the other end in at the airstone, I now have 25 feet. Where if I cut it, and then I want to move this setup, I might go, oh, darn it, this 6 feet is not long enough anymore. Darn it, I got to use a connector or cut a new piece. Where if I just have 25 feet, it's kind of like you'd rather have too long of a water hose or an extension cord, right? You'd rather have those than not have enough. And so that's a lot of people will do that. Like I just plug it in, boom, not realizing that that it creates a lot of back pressure. So I think I see some talk about how do you not run a check valve? And then Candy's talking about elevating air pumps and that kind of stuff. And so what that would look like is if your air pump, so you see this Easy Green above me, that little tiny little shelf thing? If your air pump is sitting maybe on the top of your glass or anywhere above the water, you don't have to have a check valve. Water doesn't flow up, right? Gravity will prevent that. So then you don't have to use a check valve. And what I'm hoping in the video is to do real life scenarios of like an air pump with a check valve and tubing maybe down the cabinet versus, and maybe that's 6 feet of line with a check valve versus 2 feet of line, because it's sitting on top of the glass or a shelf right there with no check valve, would get you this. And then trying long term in my super nerd world, trying to quantify on a 1 year, 2 year timeline, does that make air pumps wear out faster? Maybe. Don't know. So we'll see if I can get into that nerd level of like, yeah, I set, because it's real hard to set tests for years of like, yeah, okay, in 2027, I'm going to make this video that nobody cares about, but nobody else is doing it either. So that's why we don't know these things, because it makes no real sense for anybody to do this stuff, but it's kind of cool to prove. When I've been telling people for a long time, I'm like, all I've been doing is like, seems like less air. Yeah, that's got to be less air. Now to quantify it by how much with a gadget, more than just like, it takes about 10 seconds to dry out my tongue. Oh yeah, that's strong. I do my air pumps to taste, by the way. I buy all my crushed coral, catappa leaves, driftwood, easy green, root tabs, Aquariumcoop sponge filters, Prime, Actiflora, Aquatop nano tanks, and chili rasboras. It looks like he got cut off. Oh. Maybe from us, I hope? Or from a partner store? Yeah, my wife. She must be delayed. I forgot about Angels Plus. That was decades ago. Kind of. Yeah, that was a long time ago. I just remember, like, I think my, Katie, my wife at the time, was like, did you charge $180 to Angels Plus? My mom is asking. Yeah, it's an air pump. You guys got it for me for Christmas. I have 2-foot shelf above my rack with air pumps on it, so they don't need valves. I need to rerun the airlines though, so that I can shorten them. Yeah. Keep dropping that flue ball thing. Keep playing with it. Yeah, really, I just think knowing how much loss, like another 2 feet, if we can quantify it and be like, yeah, it's a 5% per foot. Like, oh, okay. Well, now like, hey, 5%. And for some people like me, that 1 foot and 5%, I can't sleep at night going, I am 5% unoptimized. And some other people is like, they wouldn't care at all. They're like, it's physically on. That's good enough for me. I'm that guy though. They're like, yeah, but think about, could I step my air pump down? Could I use a smaller linear air piston pump if, like at the time I had 70 aquariums, like 70 aquariums and 5% less air per that, because I was having to run 2 air pumps to 70. I'm like, that literally might translate to savings. I should do that. Yeah. Yeah, so much for discrete billing with Angels Plus. That's right. Yeah. Let's find something here. That's a lot of flue all back there. Are they not tripping still? Nah, they're always tripping. Always tripping. It's a I was gonna say love-hate. I don't hate flue ball. I don't know. We always seem to be at odds. What was the latest flue ball thing that I saw where I'm like, what are we doing? Let me find it. Oh, I think it was the innuendo thing, which this is going to make me look like a real hypocrite right now. So let me preface this by saying I understand that. I just got done talking about Angels Plus and the funny story about that. And the innuendo thing where I think it was a short about like grease. And it felt wrong to me. Let me see. Shorts. What was it? Yeah. So their latest short is grab a tube of lube. And like, yes, silicone grease is lube from a international brand. It's like, are you trying to be edgy and connect with the hip kids? Are you, I can't remember his name off the top of my head now. I'm ruining the joke. Are you Steve Buscemi with a skateboard? Like, what's up, fellow high schoolers? Where it just seems weird. Do I have it muted? Can I watch it? I haven't watched it, so it could be way better, but Nope, he's doing the dancing. Nope. Can I link this? Let me link it so you all can watch it with me. All right, you all have to watch a short now. It's your punishment. So stuff like this where I'm like, I try to be a very family-friendly brand, and I like my partners and stuff we sell and people we work with to be the same. And this isn't overtly bad, so I don't want it to be like, oh man. It's just like, Fluval, come on. Like, how about, why not do the video about silicone grease and the O-rings and all the stuff and actually educate the people instead of like, buy the thing, make the joke about it, and not do any of the education that is desperately needed around that product. Like, so many people have no idea about that product. So, I don't know. But no, I have got plenty of their stuff. I do like their stuff. It's always at this like, what decisions are you making and why are you making it this way? My wife says that short was not short enough. Oh, man. Is it because they're preparing for ridiculous prices these days? Oh, there's that lube joke. I don't know. I will say internally, I am battling myself of like, do I bring these new Aquariums in? Do I think it's priced fairly? I don't know. I do like the product. But I have to think of other people though. So it's like, if you're buying a hang-on back, I do think they're pretty good. But I also wouldn't advise a friend to buy a hang-on back unless there's specific instances. So for me, I'm like, even if you bought our air pump, which is expensive because it's got a battery backup, right? $35 plus another $10 for a filter, you're at $45. Where it's more expensive for a hang-on back, and you still need to have an air pump, because I will die on the hill. Every aquarium needs an air pump, or needs air being put into it. So yeah. Corey, since GE Silicone 1 has mold inhibitors, can you recommend another silicone for DIY aquarium glass? Yeah, GE Silicone, 100%. And you probably just thought, like, I'm making fun of you. No. Literally, it's GE Silicone, 100%, not GE1. It will also typically say not for aquariums, but it's because they're making the aquarium silicone, and they like struck a deal to say not for aquariums, so that you will buy Aquion's version or Marineland, whoever's version it is, that does say for aquariums, but it's literally the same. Well, I shouldn't say literally. I can't guarantee that. I don't pack the tubes myself. From my experience, seems to be the exact same when needing to silicone something, and we silicone a lot of stuff, so, or have. So yeah, you don't want any mold inhibitors or anything like that. I just know that when you're at Home Depot and you're in the row, the one that says 100% silicone is the one you're looking for. It's usually like gray, and they put it like way low. It's way down on that shelf. You got to hunt for that thing. So, because it doesn't have, it's just basic silicone. It doesn't have any fancy like, oh, it's mold inhibitors, doing this, doing that. Yeah. By the way, there's multiple types of silicone. There's silicone, the red one is what you use for like backgrounds and stuff, because it will adhere like plasticky stuff to glass, where normal silicone is just glass to glass. There's also, because I read way too much into everything because I'm an idiot, silicone, I believe, was originally developed, and I think I got this from you guys in the chat first, but for cockpit windows. And then I spent too much time reading about silicone is made for different strengths and has different cure times and everything. And that really doesn't matter a whole lot when the way we use it, but for the window of a cockpit or something, like what you definitely need, you're definitely going to need some ratings there to make sure that thing doesn't go away. 100% silicone. They stopped writing the GE Silicone 1 on the tubes. Yeah, it's, I mean, they may have changed package slightly different, but you basically, you'll know what you see. They'll have a little stamp that says 100% silicone on it. That's what it is. Yeah. Silicone 2 was the one incorrectly thought to have mold inhibitors. It just uses ammonia-based curing system, takes longer and more dangerous if you don't let it fully cure. There you go. Which that's anyone that's talking about silicone, I always say let it cure for at least a week. And they're like, but people say I can let it cure just overnight and it'll be fine. The store I used to work for, the guy would reseal people's tanks, and too often, if it didn't fully cure, it would leak. And so the standard was 1 week with fans inside of it, curing the heck out of it. And he had very good success with that. Anytime a customer wouldn't do it as long, or he would try, they'd be like, well, I'll be back in town. Can you get it to me at day 5? And he'd be like, yeah. And then it would leak and be like, oh, see, 7 days, 7-day minimum. And the better, 10, 12 days, even better. But you probably bought a new aquarium, you want to test it. I got to see, did it work? Because if it didn't work, if you didn't do it right, now you're just waiting extra long time. The other trick I picked up from this guy was anywhere you're going to put the silicone, like if you're not cutting the panels apart and actually redoing the whole thing, but if you're just resealing the inside, he would take sandpaper and etch the glass everywhere he was going to apply the silicone, and he'd get a much stronger bond going there. So kind of a cool tip. Let's see here. So yeah, flu ball tripping even with their shorts. Oh gosh, it's still playing. It was on a loop. What have I done? We got about a half an hour left. What else are we talking about? Buying all our stuff. I set up a bunch of CO2 with my regulators that we don't sell anymore, so that's cool. Yeah. Gotta go, but love your store in Edmonds. Waiting on the expansion. I've got a meeting with our landlords this week coming up. I need their okay. So now, I guess the story progresses. If you're here with me on the Sundays, you'll hear how the story progresses. The city of Edmonds has finally approved our HVAC plan. Now, for the HVAC people to start, I just have to have consent from the landlords to drill through the front of the building 4 times. As long as my landlords say okay to that, we'll get on the production schedule for the HVAC. So we are definitely one step closer, and I'm hopeful that my landlords won't say no, because I explained to them, like, 1, you're going to get $20,000 of free stuff because I'm paying for it all, and if I move out, you get to keep it. And 2, it is literally a law that's going to be required, so everybody else is going to have to do it. So I guess I get to be the guinea pig for you. Lefty asks, is it 400 grit wet or dry sandpaper? That part I don't know off the top of my head. It was a fairly fine one, yes. Didn't have to be wet, though. And the biggest part of it was lots of razor blades to get all the silicone, because silicone won't stick to silicone. So making sure you get all the silicone, but then especially just the sandpapering around, really made sure there was no silicone left, and made the surface a little better. And then on top of all that, we would clean all the dust and everything. I had to be part of this sometimes. All the dust and everything we would clean out with alcohol, so that it would dry fast and you could really make sure you've gotten all the silicone, because all it takes, you miss one little silicone. When you're doing like a 180-gallon tank, stripping silicone and prepping it, it's like painting. If you've ever, well, most people here probably painted something. You need to paint a room. The actual painting is easy. It's all the prep work, like, all the outlets around the windows, we're not painting the ceiling, so I got to make a line. All of that is a thing that takes 2 days, and then you bust out the painting in like 4 hours. So same thing when resealing an aquarium. It's all the prep work that takes forever. And then the actual, the running of the silicone might take 15 minutes, maybe. Like, it's not much. Can I buy a new spout for my older Easy Green bottle? I've been swapping the one from my potassium bottle to it as a workaround. You can't buy one. What you could do, Heavy Metal Machine, if you email us and say, hey, could you add a pump head to my order if I buy something? Probably our customer service team will be like, yeah, we could do that. Just send us an email after you buy anything and we'll add it on. And if you do that, now, Candy could probably do it, or something else. The only reason why is if we just go awesome customer service mode and be like, let's just send him one. I know it costs us $14 to ship it to you, and it's like, oh, that just hurts. Like, it hurts my soul knowing that we're gonna pay $14 to ship you a pump head. Where if you buy anything, right, just buy something. Hopefully, you need something in the aquarium world, and then when we add it on, I'm like, okay, we're not killing the environment. We're not losing tons of money on this. It's a win-win for everybody, and that feels good. So, that's what I'm hoping for. Yeah. The other thing, maybe you have a local store. You could probably ask them nicely. Maybe they would give you one, and then we could reimburse that store one on their next shipment. Any of those things could work. Yeah. Well, there you go. Caitlin says they sold a pump head to me at the store. Yeah, they come with pump heads, but yeah, we're getting into the weeds on pump heads again. So, let's see here. Corey, how does it feel to have a landlord with so much invested into your rented space? Do you have contracts to protect you from rent hikes or evictions? I mean, you have leases, yeah, but nothing technically stops that. I mean, the lease does, but when that lease ends, like, so normally if you're doing what you do, you get a lease for X amount of years, and I always negotiate for an option. So usually we're doing, somewhere between 3 and 6 years with an option to renew at ours. It's pretty standard to go up like 3% every year, because that's just what a lot of things. You can negotiate sometimes a little less, but yeah, having options to renew is good, and then locking in for a long time. And in general, if you're a good tenant, like, their job is to want tenants, and but we already pay them over market rate. We like, what do I want to say? Because we've been there for like 11 or 12 years now, rent goes up 3% every year, right? But the money they could get for the property in the other spaces didn't always go up. Like, so we would get people that move in next door to us are paying 20-30% less. And then we started just gobbling up lots of spaces. So we just go, hey, I will pay you what I pay now for this space, for that space. Just give it to me. Like, we wouldn't kick anyone out, but when someone would move out, we'd be like, hey, I want that. And then we would renegotiate the contract and all that. Just extend everything, do this, and we'll take that. And that's how we got these other 2 spaces, actually. So, yeah. But technically, there's no guarantee. Like, the building could burn down, a natural disaster could happen. Like, that's all part of business, and that's part of what makes business hard. Is you can be doing everything right, and then your business can end tomorrow from a natural disaster, just something happening. Big decisions you make that go horribly wrong, that can happen. All that kind of stuff, and that's why it's like, at a certain level, businesses have to make money, because things do go wrong. And if you're running too tight of a tolerance, it's game over. And so, whether the business calls it a rainy day fund or whatever it is, like, not you, but all businesses are banking on, like, we need X amount just because. So, yeah, that's why we have to make sure we're going to be around for a while. Yes, Easy Greens that you buy from us right now do come with a pump, by the way. But yeah, sometimes they could break or something could happen. Any of that. I got to knock on wood. I've got Hydra and Dean's Fry system tank. I have 2-month-old rams in there. No planaria dangerous for them. Does it affect the beneficial bacteria? Well, in theory, right? It shouldn't matter. Just swap the tray and you wouldn't have any Hydra. If it's in the tank, again, kind of shouldn't matter because you won't have any fish down there. So I would say there's probably a way to solve this without using meds if you're using the Dean's Fry system in the way in which Dean uses it, because I don't think Dean runs into this problem really. So, let's see. The new pump is great. Well, you better learn to love it while it's here, because soon they won't have pump heads. We'll have the measuring caps, which I personally am loving. The fact that I have lots of 40-gallon and bigger tanks, it's way faster for me to measure 40 at a time, 40 milliliter, or 4 milliliters at a time. Sorry, not 40. Way easier, faster to do that, especially when I'm dosing like potassium and something else, or I'm testing something. So, yeah. And it'll just put the stop to like, hey, you dropped my thing and it broke. Ooh. How would you treat clamped fins on a fish? I start with looking at water parameters, making sure it's in the range that that fish would like. That usually is half of it. And then maybe I hit it with some meds, maybe salt or Maricin, something to maybe help fix that, if you will. That is a rarity. Like, me and some other creators have been talking, and for whatever reason, I don't know if it's just the fish community or just platform wide, super chats aren't nearly as plentiful as they have been over the years. Could be economy, could be anything. But yeah, here we go. Roomba TV. Roompa TV, not Roomba. Love from Australia. I'm a guppy breeder, and I have an issue with one of the tanks that continuously has clamped fins. Water is fine, a little high on ammonia. What are my recommendations? So it kind of becomes a no-brainer. Got to fix the ammonia. And let's make sure we have ammonia. Sometimes you'll have these really well-established tanks that have ammonia, and they shouldn't. Half the time that could be because you're using like, oh, I use CChem Prime, and then it interacts with my API test kit and gives me a false positive. That happens all the time. So make sure that you actually have ammonia in the water. And if you do, then let's try to examine why. Is it a lot of uneaten food? Like sometimes brine shrimp, live brine shrimp, that'll happen, or flake food, or something's going on there. Do you actually just not have enough filtration, which is not very likely often, but can happen. Also know that ammonia, if you have chlorine in your water and you're breaking down the bond, a lot of times you will make ammonia that way, so it could be that as well. But in general, I would add a little bit of marine salt to that tank. It usually makes guppies happier, buffers the water and all of that. But I really would spend my time going, what is the source of this ammonia? Because it has to come from somewhere. It doesn't just, oops, here it is. And then I'd be going, okay, how am I going to build a plan that's going to fight this? Is it, oh, I need more live plants? Is it, I need more water changes? Is it, my filtration is unoptimized? Is it, what is the thing? And usually I will do a mix of these. Like, yeah, let me give you a little bit of salt. Let me change a little bit of water first. I tested the water. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. And for me, I might gravel vac. I might service my filtration. I might do all of these little things that I know are just better for the system. And when I do all of those things, usually it will do better. And I hold this belief that living organisms, whether it's a human, dog, cat, fish, we deal with one stress factor pretty well. That could be heat, could be work stress, could, something that stresses us out. We handle one thing pretty darn well. It's when you start compounding them. Work is stressful. It's hot outside. I'm digging a ditch. I'm not well hydrated. You start just packing it on. All of a sudden the body gives out, right? And so that's where I like this approach of, let me fix all these things, optimize these things a little bit. Let me make sure that impeller's running okay. Let me make sure that I'm getting enough air in the system. Let me make sure that I've gravel vacked. And, have I moved the decorations? There's a lot of buildup down there. Maybe something's building up that I'm not testing for. All of these types of things. And then usually what I see is by doing all of those things, the problem will have been solved. Now, the problem I find is I can't go, that was the thing that I did and it solved it. Instead, it's a general, make everything better, and then it is better. So hopefully that'll help you. Does Easy Green ever expire? Officially in 2 years. Unofficially, I've found Easy Green that's like, I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's from an archaeological dig and it still works just fine. So, that's my officially 2 years. How do you lower GH? Let the plants eat it, typically, is one of the easiest ways if you're not using like an RO unit before the water goes in. Natalie Drake with the $5 Canadian 1 year member. I love the coins. The coin is so much easier for me to see 1 year, 2 year, 3, 4, 5. I love that system. I was a little on the nose for me. I was like, ooh, is this a bad look? Like, oh, they're money coins. Like, I didn't like that part, but I was able to pay the artist their money and just get it implemented. So I was like, yeah, I'll do that. But they're recognizable. Like, hey, that's a coin. And then we also give away coins. So I was like, I'm only going to make coins harder to identify, but I'm worried that, it looks like a gaming coin enough. Anyway, Natalie asks, how do I know if angelfish aggression has gotten out of hand? Might it get better with time? The female chases the male like crazy. It's a 4-foot, 75-gallon aquarium at 76 degrees. Well, look, our fins getting shredded, that kind of stuff. Do you have any line of sight blocks? I think that's real important. So, like you see how this aquarium here, it's pretty open. If I was to take this plant and put it towards the middle, and it was a little bit taller, there could be a fish on each side, and they don't have to look at each other. Out of sight, out of mind. That helps a lot. The other thing is, you're running at 76 Fahrenheit. If you lower the temperature a bit, a lot of times that'll put them out of breeding behavior. So it's like, oh, maybe it's 73. They're just like, hey, it's not breeding time. Nature, nope, not warm enough. I don't need to chase you. I don't need to be aggressive. And I didn't clarify that. Most, but not all, a lot of the aggression comes from, hey, it's time to breed. Let's do that. And then if they do lay eggs, hey, get away from me. Those are my eggs. There's all the courting, all that kind of stuff. And so sometimes playing with temperature a little bit and line of sight blocks makes it enjoyable for you. So I would, if you like, oh, I could move a plant, or I could do a thing, or let me try 2 degrees. Any of those is what I'd be trying there. And yeah, that's what I'd be doing. Hey, I finally get to see this feature in the wild. So when you do super chat, you can reply and other people can reply, but it pulls up this rad thing on my screen. Let me see it here again. Does it do it here again? Yeah. It basically, it's a super good way to follow up. So it says, I do water changes every 3 days and siphon all the waste at the bottom. So I would focus on, are you using a chlorinator? Is there, and get back to basics. So many people go, weird problem. And they focus on their tank. Don't forget to test your tap water. Sometimes you just have ammonia or other things in your tap water. And we run to that store probably once a week where it's like, oh, well, that explains everything. Like, my water has XYZ in it. And once you know that, now you know water changes aren't solving your problem necessarily, and you can tackle it in a different way. Like, oh, I'll use a little bit of, an ammonia pad or something. Like, for instance, I know Gary Lang was spawning some rainbow fish that the eggs, which is always fungus, is really a pain in the butt. And so what he found, he had to run a hang-on back filter on an aquarium, fill it with water, dechlorinate it, and suck out all the ammonia and all the chemicals with carbon and ammonia pad, then change that water when he was using the eggs, no problems anymore. So, sometimes you just got this weird series of things going on. My old eyes can see the coin. I like that. Yeah, I like that too. It's really easy on the black background for me to see. Any chance of getting my 3-year coin up here in Canada? Cheers. Yes, there is. And let me I'm going to write that down in an executive meeting. I got notes and stuff. It's been on my list forever, and I'm not taking action on it yet. What I want to figure out, like, how do we get Mike Casey his 3 coins? Like, I want to know, what does that cost? And then I want to know, what's that cost in Australia and Germany and all the other countries? And like, can we make some strides in some of these countries? And then what does that look like, right? So how many people are we talking about? What would be the process? Is it email us? Is it a form? Is it... I can't think of a good way which you could actually just order it through the website without causing all kinds of things down the line. But there might be a way. Maybe we work with April's Aquarium, maybe, and that would solve like Canada, but it doesn't solve Germany and all the places around the world. But yeah, so I'm putting it there going, all right, what would it look like? Do we have a mode right now that we could actually internationally ship? Because, like, if we ship a box, like, if our smallest box is this, we ship a box to Canada, it's like, oh, that's $30. Like, oh. But, like, what about an envelope this big with 3 coins? Like, is that $6? $10? $20? I don't know. And then Is that still a nightmare scenario for like customs? Or could this legally qualify? Can we label them as gifts? Because like it kind of is. You're not purchasing it from us. It's kind of a gift or reward. Like, so we got to run down all those scenarios. Be like, ooh, if we could send them with gifts, then customs get a lot easier, and we don't have to charge all the craziness to it, and all that. And so it could be an easier thing. But yeah. Creedmoor Aquatics, I forget about members and super chats. What's my favorite filter feeder for a community tank? Ooh, easy mode. Bamboo shrimp. I need to bring some of those home. I love those guys so much. I just love. And I love the challenge of setting up the right Lion King rock or piece of wood in front of the filter so that they come to the end of it and they just stand there eating. Yeah, love it. Ooh, neat. I love the coin. Thanks for everything you do. You're welcome, Regina Phalanges. We might be trying to find a little old long-haired chihuahua for the mother-in-law. Maybe. 99 cents from Nicholas Matsuo? Don't know. But thank you. Angels laid eggs in the middle of an ick treatment. Oof. On day 3, need to do a 30% water change. They still have 3 days to go after the water change. Well, 2 things. Do the water change. Second, I only treat with like ICX, or I mean, I guess I don't know what treatment you're using, but I only treat till 1 day after they're ick free. So I don't go like a full 6 days or something like that. I go until I've killed them all. And there'll be people like, hey, how do you know you're going to kill them all then? It's like, well, true. How do you know you're going to kill them all? Because 7 days or 6 days wouldn't be enough. Ick needs at least 2 weeks technically just to die out. So you would have to treat all your fish for 2+ weeks minimum. So a lot of what we're doing in the hobby is like, well, we're taking educated guesses, and that's what we do. So Creedmoor says, a suggestion, do an annual sign up. The co-op ship coins in bulk, then get reshipped from the destination country. Yes, we might be able, and that might be a good crowd sourcing thing through like the forum. Because I don't think anyone's going to be like, ooh, I'm going to pull off the big heist, right? I've got myself 7 2-year member coins and 3 3-year member coins. And then we'd find a way to like, maybe we just pay them, right? Like, how much shipping costs? Like, you got them to your country, dole them out, and then what did that cost? Like, oh, that was $40. Here's a reimbursement. Thank you so much. Thanks for doing that. That might work out really well. And then it's only 1 custom clearance per country, like you say. You might be onto something. And if we can coordinate that and go like, yep, you got till the end of, here's the cutoff. Now you got to wait till next year. There'll still be people like, oh no, but I was only 1 month away from my year X coin. Like, that will suck. But it'll still be a step better than we got right now. I see we might be onto something there. What would I recommend for the best care of Yucatan sailfin mollies? I have 10 or 11 fry in 1 to 2 years. Maybe soon another 3 to 4 fish. Yeah, so if it was me, I'd be getting that water and the pH as hard and as high as possible. Not as possible, but I would be like, yeah, let me get it to 8. Let me give them so many minerals, and let me feed them like 4, 5, 6 times a day. That's what I've been doing lately, is I've just been spoiling all of these fish. I've decided I'm tired of not having anything I'm proud to show. And so I want to make the world's biggest guppies. I want my tanks purling, which I keep looking over going, I don't even care. Even if the algae's purling, I love the look of purling. So I'm feeding my fish a bunch of times a day, just getting them big, fat, and sassy, and healthy, and all that. And that's mostly when you're getting low levels of fry and stuff. For me personally, we're not feeding enough. You're going, well, I feed twice a day. Like, yeah, but they're an active fish. And that's like when you see Greg Sage and Charles Clapsells and mollies this big, the amount of food, and they're feeding 5, 6 times a day. That's how they do it. And so I found mollies to be particularly, and swordtails, unless you just keep them like on like turkey Thanksgiving dinner mode where it's like, oh gosh, I ate too much. They're chasing down their fry. Otherwise, you're trying to get them basically to sit on the couch. Like, just sit on the couch and don't move. Let those babies eat. That's what I'm trying to do. And so higher pH keeps them happy. A lot of plants, minimal nitrates, all those kind of go without saying. So real good water quality, higher pH, a lot of minerals, and tons of food. Which, if you're feeding tons, you need lots of live plants or a lot of water changes to help balance that out. Steve O re-upping at the 52-month mark. By the way, YouTube got back to us and said, we'll put the 6-year member badge thing on the thing, but there's like no other creators that need it. Because we beta tested it. And so, like, because we beta tested it for like 14 or 18 months before anybody else, we're literally like a year ahead of everybody. And so they're thinking like, we got a year before you even need it. That's why we went so long without the 5-year one. And while we'll probably go a pretty long time without the 6-year one. In my mind though, I'm like, just do like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Like, just get it done. Just do them all. Do it. But what do I know? I'm not working their project. Also, I do have a signed NDA, so I can't talk too much about it, but I do have a meeting with YouTube this week for some new stuff we'll be playing around with on the YouTube channel. So that'll be fun. And it directly involves you guys. So it is a feature for all. It's not like, ooh, a secret feature on the background. It'll be something you guys get to partake in as well. Not members, everybody. So it'll be fun. It'll be good. I want to be an international Aquarium Co-op membership coin dealer. You know, honestly, there's probably some stores around the world that would do that. Because if you drove to their store, you'd probably buy stuff. So if we made a deal of like, yeah, you can be the dealer, and you'll probably get some people, and I'll just encourage people like, yeah, if you go to that store, like, try and buy something. That would help us. Even though you can't buy our products there, you'd be able to buy, fish or something or whatever they got there, and that would be nice. Yeah, it's weird for them not to be a few years ahead. There, with everything, because I work on our website a lot. There's always some crazy reason, like, well, technically when we built the stack out, we only built for 5 years, so it's a complete redesign for more than 5. Like, oh, okay. Like, and it does make a little sense, because there's times where it's like, yeah, but it's going to display weird on this phone or this phone, like this tiny phone, right? Like, so their users are in the billions or whatever it is. So, yeah, like, I understand there is some of that, but at the same time, it's like, it's not like you don't know what's coming. Time's always marching forward. Like, oh man, someone unlocked a new high score. Like, no, I can tell you exactly how many days it's going to take till we need number 7. It's here. We know. Yeah. Oh yeah. Aubrey at 71 months. There is a 6-year coin. We do. I literally told YouTube, I literally made a 6-year coin to give my members before you guys could make it so I could give them a pixel. Like, come on. What was the medication I mentioned for clamped fins? So marine salt is what I'd be mixing in a little bit. And I would start with with guppies, maybe a teaspoon per 10 gallons. Normally it's a teaspoon per 20. But marine salt, which is just the salt you would use for like a saltwater aquarium. And it'll be chock full of everything. And yeah, I mean, I'm convinced the ammonia part of it is why they're not as happy, but I would focus that. And the marine salt also buffers KH, minerals, and pH. So it helps in all the things guppies or all live bears want. And so a little bit of that goes a long way in that regard, and I find it just to help. So that's what I would do. Focus on all that. Let's see. Is that the same as aquarium salt? No, aquarium salt. This is what makes this hard. Aquarium salt is just salt. So NaCl would just be just salt. Like just that salty flavor. That's all it would be. Where marine salt or marine aquarium salt, or however we want to say it. It is that salty taste that you would taste, plus all kinds of minerals: calcium, magnesium, boron, potassium, probably. There's a lot of stuff in there. And so it is different, and it has all those minerals, and that's the important part, is all those minerals. So it's kind of like if you mixed normal aquarium salt and maybe like an Equilibrium, CChem Equilibrium, you mix those together. That's kind of, it's obviously not the same, but that's kind of what we're doing, and that's kind of what marine salt is. And so marine salt just tends to be like, I can buy it in big quantities, much cheaper than that, and I get all these benefits too. Like Equilibrium doesn't buffer the pH, but yes, bunch of minerals, bunch of stuff, and salt, put it together, good delivery system. So there you go. Just got my battery backup air pump just in time for hurricane season. Yes, if you live anywhere where weather is terrible, like that weather's coming up in the next 3 months. And I realize I'm telling you to buy my stuff, so by all means, take it with a grain of salt. Anyone's ever the person that benefits from you spending money, step back and go, wait a second, is this guy just trying to take my lunch money? So do your own analysis, but get yourself set up before the problem happens. I'm always going, such a bummer when I'm watching people in the aquarium group or wherever going, hey, my power's out, and then they're like, what do? And we're like, get a battery powered backup pump. Sometimes they can run to a retail partner store, and that's super cool. I've seen some stores really shouting that out and doing that, so that's great. But sometimes they just order it. And even then, like if you are in that situation where it's like hurricane just knocked power out, if you like use your cell phone and order it right then and it arrives in 2 or 3 days, you still might have 3 or 4 more days before you get power. And if it arrives in like the first 2 days or 3 days, your fish are probably still alive. So, but by all means, like meds, I should do tons of videos on this, but meds and battery backups and, all the preventative stuff, we literally have the power to do that today. If you don't have Maricin, Icex, aquarium salt, Paracleanse, and probably marine salt, but I have all those, and I consider that like I have to have that. And then also like battery backups, have to have it. And if I never had to use them in the rest of my life, that's a good life. I never had a sick fish, never had the power go out, great. I have wasted $100. I've wasted $100 on other things in my life that have been way worse purchases. But when I need them, then it's worth $1,000 to me. So would I suggest marine salt over aquarium salt for hatching baby brine? Yes. So we actually make brine shrimp salt, basically marine salt. And yes, in my opinion, you get a way better, well, not way better. You get a better hatch. And then I purposely put that salt water into my tanks because I want the minerals to go into my tanks. Yes, there's a little bit of ammonia. My plants just go, let me eat that. No problem. And they want the minerals too. So I'll eat the minerals and the ammonia. I don't care. I'm eating it. They got no problems with it. And yes, if you never ever change water, in 242 years, you could have too much salt and you're like, I got a saltwater tank. Or you're like the 99.8% of all hobbyists and you're like, well, I change water at least once every year or two. Like, you'll be fine. Like, you'll probably remove enough water if you just put your arms in to like trim a plant or something and pull it back out, that when you have to refill, you will be doing enough water exchange that the brine shrimp would never catch up. Would I ever get a moo puffer again? Why or why not? Oh, I definitely would. The why not part would be, I don't like the golden handcuffs it has of like, ooh, I gotta have clamps to ready all the time. Gotta have the big tank. Gotta clean it all the time. It's mostly when I go on vacation, not vacation, but I leave town, I'm putting that burden on somebody else. So it would be like, for me, Mabu's like maybe like Great Dane dogs. Like, they're awesome. I love them. I don't own any, but when you go, oh yeah, let's go to Hawaii, instantly like, who's taking care of those 2 giant dogs or whatever you got? Like, it's an albatross, it's a thing. And so, will I ever probably have one again? Probably yes, and maybe at the store at some point. Will I personally have one? Probably yes, because I don't make smart decisions all the time. And 5 years from now, I'll be like, but I miss it. And I want it real bad. And I remember all the good times and not the bad times. But I'll probably start with the store and then my own at some point. We'll see. We'll see if I learn from it. I've had 2 of them in my own personal care. And that's a lot of years of them. And I love them so much. But yeah. Would I get a Mabu hybrid? I guess it depends on what it's hybridized with, but probably. Like I don't know. I mean, I got balloon mollies and stuff. If it was cool and if I thought I would enjoy it, I would keep it. Like my whole ethos for keeping aquariums is, am I having fun? And if the answer is yes, I'm into it. That's different for everybody, right? But for me, for the most part, I don't really care what other people think. Like I do a bit because it hurts the ego, and you're like, oh man, I just showed 40,000 people my algae, like, and they think I'm dumb. Like that hurts a little bit. But for the most part, if I didn't have, most of you wouldn't have to show the internet, I would literally just only do what I care about. And if I want to go 3 years in a row with just ponds, that's what I would do. If I want to keep African cichlids like I've got over there, that's what I would do. I would literally just do, what am I enjoying? What am I loving? What is keeping me in the hobby today? I would do that. And I do, for the most part, I do that. And so that's, yes, I would keep a hybrid in a heartbeat if I was like, that thing is amazing. I've even considered, I don't sell them, but I'm still kind of enamored by glow Corydoras. I don't know why the Corydoras in particular, I'm like, those are kind of neat. I kind of like those. And I really think that the red tiger barbs look super cool. But I also think glowfish prices have gotten out of control. Like, I remember them being like, ooh, those tetras like $5, $6, $7, like 12, 15 years ago. I was at a Petco a couple weeks ago, and I was like, $9.99? Who's buying $9.99 tetras? I can't sell the rarest, coolest tetra in the world at my store for $9.99. People, they're willingly, and then I realized, oh wait, yeah, they're letting people buy like 2, and then they're not having a good life. Because I'm thinking, who's spending at least $60 on these, huh? And then I realized, oh yeah, they're probably not. They're probably going, I'll get 1, and then I'll get 2, and then I'll get 1. But yeah, and it's mostly price and that kind of stuff that holds me back from doing that kind of stuff. But yeah, they look cool. Does Elmer seem to enjoy the store? I think he is. I like that he's in the big aquarium because he'll do some laps. And that's cool for me to see. I think he's enjoying that. But he likes it when it's mostly later at night. So you have to see him, late at night or when the store is closed, and he really likes doing the laps then. I like that you're taking a post from the Facebook page and using them in the articles that you write. It's just another example of how you all listen. Yes, by the way, I'll throw out another disclaimer. If you're in the Facebook group and you're making posts, like starting a post, we put up a post there, and it's now required that you agree to it when you join the group, that we are allowed to use it and make it anonymous in our newsletters and things like that. Just one more way I can get that out there. I don't even think legally I have to do that, but transparency is nice when I can do it. And you guys seem to be liking the content. So we basically take like what got a lot of engagement in the group, and it seems like this could help a lot of people. Let's put that into a newsletter that goes out once or twice a week. And I'm hoping you guys like it. It seems like it. The data shows that you might like it, but essentially, it's a more digestible thing. So like, oh yeah, you can basically read it in 2 or 3 minutes and move on. So if you haven't signed up for our newsletters, maybe think about it. It used to be much like we'd lead into a blog article, and that was more like an 8-minute read, and people didn't have time for that. And now it's like you can literally click the button, read, okay, move on. And so it's not like, ooh, I got to save that for later. We brought it into a much more, chicken nugget size, a couple bites and you're done. Don't have to get the knife and fork out. Uh-oh, it's after 5 p.m., just so I know. Wincy is about to eat my leftovers for dinner. I got to see Elmer this weekend. He's awesome. I also purchased some red Rilly shrimp, 9 of them. Turns out they were all female. That's crazy. Do I miss working in the store? I do. I do miss working in the store. You're connected with the fish more. it's super stress free in my opinion. Like I I'm in the fish industry, but there are days that are just, I'm trying to think of how to explain the stress, because until I've been in some of these stressful situations in my past career, like let's say working at someone else's fish store, I couldn't even fathom what high stress could feel like. Where, oh, what do you mean that we can't make our lights anymore? What do you mean that there's this decision that's going poorly that was hundreds of thousands of dollars? What do you mean that this thing is going on? It's, yeah, it's a crippling stress that can just show up tonight, 2 years from now, 3 months, while you're on a trip where you're, so like that kind of stuff. It's not great. Where in the store, you're kind of just like, your biggest problem is like, oh no, they're sick. Guess I'll have to fix them. And you're just playing with fish and selling it and, doing that kind of stuff, which is great. It's honestly like, I love that as a career, and I'm doing everything I can to make it sustainable as a career in Washington State. I have no doubt I could pull it off in a different state that didn't have such high cost of living. But our cost of living is high, and it's fairly difficult to balance everything. I know I can't. I couldn't pay the employees and stuff as well and offer them the benefits that we get and all that kind of stuff if I was just the retail store. And I say because it just doesn't have the capital, and, like a summer months in retail in Washington are brutal bad, like real bad, losing money bad. But because we have the overall, what the whole business is doing, we can carry through like it's nothing. Not like it's nothing. That makes it seem like we got unlimited money. But I remember summers being real at the time stressful, because like, oh no, that stress in comparison to now though, not so much. Aquarium Co-op spotlight on a flexible arm? Yeah, maybe. We'll see. I'm all the electronics and stuff. I'm basically just going, well, the electronics take up so much time to test and a lot of money. And we've been talking about that lately too, of just like, if we hadn't launched, pick one of the products we've discontinued, whether it's heaters, CO2, what else do we do? Nets are going to be discontinued. Gotta be other stuff. My brain just doesn't work. Anyway, take one of those huge outlays of money, and that could have launched 5 or 6 other products that we want to launch. And also all the time that goes into it could have been testing other things. And so, so we're kind of like, hey, let's get a bunch of these things that are on the list that we know we can get like out, that make sense, that aren't these gotta save up a ton to launch some type of things, and use that money to fuel the other stuff down the road again. And we used to do that, right? We used to get like, okay, we sold enough, now let's do that. Like we've got a new shirt coming, for instance. Maybe it'll be here this week, maybe next week. It's a cool shirt. I like it. We designed it. We ordered, I don't know, thousands of dollars worth of them, and they'll be cool. I like them. So that's easier to do than launch an electronic. What have been the top few most memorable tanks that have really blown me away from my fish room tours or stores? I feel like I need more time to do that real justice. The tank that I visited with Flip Aquatics and some other people, I think it was in Ohio, and it was like this dude's basement, and on one end he was watching like TV and movies, but all behind him were these giant monster fish. That one was pretty dope. Pretty cool setup there. And then I'm trying to think of what other setups were. Chris Lukup, just his I'm gonna call it loft, his office, his little nano tanks has really left an impression on me. And that's what's driving a lot of the amount of enjoyment he gets, and the way that he just does his work and is enjoying. He genuinely enjoys what he's keeping, and just it's really has inspired me. And so I'm enamored with those setups. Gary Lang's planted tank is like 180 in his outside of his fish room's pretty inspiring as well. That's on video also. I know there's more, and that's the thing is, oh, you didn't mention X, Y, and Z. Like, I mean, 2 hours after a live stream, live streaming in, like my brain's not pulling up as fast as I would like. But yeah, those have all been really cool to me. If you haven't watched Chris Lukup's video today on Pandagara, beautiful footage. Really just a nice video, just to listen to, honestly. I shared it on the community page. I highly recommend you check it out if you haven't, and I think you'll enjoy it. Uh-oh. The dogs are coming. I can use my new button. Let me see if it'll work. Hopefully that came through on your end. Like, can I pet my dog? Or can I pet that dog? You're running away. Come here. You're rolling over now. You're not a very good show, You see what you're doing? Oh, there you go. There you go. Yeah, real excited. Oh, heart's pounding.
They wanted to get a run in.
Yeah. Look at that tail. Are you happy? You happy, dog? What, are you afraid to be on the camera?
Yeah, she's the floating dog.
I see.
Look how excited Wincy looks.
My button worked. Can I pet that dog? Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to replay it.
We love that video too. If you don't know what the "Can I pet that dog" video is,
just like Google it.
Google it so you can watch it, because if you haven't seen it, you've missed a what do I call an artifact of the internet at this point.
Like the whole reason the internet was made.
Yeah, internet was made for that. I mean, it's kind of a meme now and everything, but yeah. You want me to hold that low for a bit?
You probably should.
She's gonna like hit me in the eye with her paw or something. She likes to freak out sometimes when she's not with mom. Yeah.
Oh.
You gonna give him treats?
Can I put one on your shoulder for her?
Sure. Hit the button again. All right, we'll hit it again. Hold on. I hit it twice. You won't be able to hear it because
that doesn't help me.
It would play into the microphone.
I don't know.
You don't know how hard this job is. I got to do it with no sound and no visual.
There it went.
You get them all? Yeah. Now I'm all slobbery.
Yeah, that's why I did it.
Gross.
Dressed up Hawaiian theme today.
Oh. You're too hot. You're going down. Whoa. Whoa. I got dog hair everywhere now. Regina says we call that air jail when you're holding it.
Yep.
That's good. I always do show dog, so sometimes I'll hold them like front and back, and their legs are splayed out. They can't do anything. So I put them in show dog mode, which I don't have show dogs obviously, but I just think that's funny when stealing it.
Conditioning your couch for you.
Let's see here. Now it's all dogs. All dogs all the time.
Did you answer that cage question that the person had?
Cage question?
Yeah, it was like, how do I lower either the GH or the cage?
Yeah, I did. I answered it. Can I pet that dog as top 10 most influential American media? That's probably true. That would be true. Yeah, I'm actually trying to build a little more of I'm gonna call it live stream setup, which that's not really what it, but I'm mostly it's making my office cooler, and I hate battling the lighting, and so I'm gonna fix that. And I, like this camera, while dark, now you're on the camera. It'll make the aquariums look a little better and that kind of stuff. So yeah, working on it, and hopefully I'll get it all put together so that it'll work.
Right there.
What dogs are these? These are Chihuahuas, which they're both rescues, so they could technically have something crossed into them.
They're
but
also called desert pit bulls.
my wife says they're also called desert pit bulls.
I just made that up.
Oh, that's not a real thing? You're making that up? I don't believe you. Yeah. My 19-year-old Reddit slider is loving the extreme reptile sticks. All right. Y'all added them to the site by the wait. Yeah, we did add them to the site. Yep. Although I need to give him to him more veggies than those since he's old. Yep. Yeah. Eating us out of house and home over there. That is a lot of slobber on that couch.
Oh, they were conditioning the couch for you.
Yikes. All right. I suppose it's time that I call it. I want to feed the fish again, and I got a little bit of work to do. And these puppies probably get some real food, or maybe I'll get some real food. Let's see. Better do my job. Please buy all our stuff. It's been cool to watch you guys, seeing what you're ordering and that kind of stuff after the live stream, so I appreciate that. We keep kind of almost running out of the mystery packs, so I'll probably turn those off at some point tonight just to make sure we don't run out. It gets weird where if we technically don't have 6 different plants in enough quantities, it starts giving you doubles, and then we got to make it right with you and that kind of stuff. So order early if you're ordering on those, and then they'll be back probably Tuesday or Wednesday when we get more plants again, just to like we turn off the plant packs before we run out, right? So don't think like we're just running out of plants. It's that we want it so that when you come to the website and you want to buy a specific plant, it's actually in stock and not they all get consumed by just mystery packs or something. So we want it. So I've been waiting to buy this. Yeah, buy it tonight. That'd be great. And yeah, that would be helpful if you buy all our stuff. I can do more things like buy dog treats and hit a button that makes sounds. So I want to do more stuff more of the time, and I've really committed. I have to keep battling Katie on nope, Sunday I gotta do the live stream. That's what we're doing, and there's only one that I think I'm going to miss, and that's when Dan's Fish is in town next month. Just because it would be a real pain for everybody's schedule to not do that. And I know you guys are gonna be like, just have me on the live stream. We're gonna be at Dean's house, so and then you're gonna be like, just do it at Dean. Then it becomes we're putting on a live stream and we're not letting him film and look at Dean's stuff, and we're gonna do stuff at the store after we close, and we want to talk and that kind of stuff. So it'll be like, it'll probably just have to be the one. Now I am gonna try to fit it in potentially the day before on a Saturday or somewhere. So I'm not gonna miss the week. It just won't be at that exact time. But otherwise, 6 p.m. Eastern every Sunday. You sit down, you start loading up your cart, you listen to me yammer on and play, MP3 memes and let the dogs eat. And then when we close this thing out, you hit that submit button, and then you hit up Candy and add more stuff on. So you submit, then you add on like another $100 worth of stuff because you just became a member, and then you synced your account. Then you hit up Candy, and we make all the money, and we do all the things, and we come back next week. So that's it. Enjoy nature daily. Compliment somebody. We'll see you next time. Thanks for hanging out. And time to go feed the doggies and me.